Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Warrior Weekly on Randomania, where we have our Dragon Warrior Randomizer race for the first Wednesday of November 2018. We're going to be running standard flags tonight. We have a race between 9 or 10, at least, different racers, and amongst those featured, we have a really tough lineup of Smashy, GameboyF9, MisterHomes, Nescardinality, and I'm joined today by Bobski. What's up, man?
This will be a good race. I think there are a lot of strong racers here.
Yeah, these Wednesday weeklies have been pretty popular ever since the tournament has concluded. A lot of casual races going through the week, and this pre-scheduled Wednesday night race is packed full of the strongest racers for this randomizer. So all the viewers out there are going to get a top-notch view of how this game should be played. Looks like we're going to be off and running, and the first decisions will be made based on what we find in the throne room. Alright, interesting start with wings and gold. That means if they go ahead and use the wings as an item, they can save the key that they got in the back chest here, and then they can go directly to the back door and buy more keys because they also started with gold. So, interesting start. We can see MisterHomes doing exactly that right now. And Smashy instead is going to check out the town first and runs directly into a Scorpion. And I missed what kind of strength he has, but he is able to damage a Scorpion. It's going to be a tough fight, though. Yeah, well, 20 strength. He might be able to get it, but he gets away at the last minute. And it actually is Rimmeldar right next door. So it's kind of interesting because he already has a key. So he started going up there for keys, but then he realized, well, he already has one. And he's going to check and see if he can buy something at the shop instead. So a little bit of a divergence, a couple of different strategies. And in we go. And have we seen the treasure chest in the throne room yet, Bobski?
Looks like Nescardinality went to open them, but I'm not exactly sure what.
So on MisterHomes' view, we see a fairy water, a torch, and a dragon scale so far. That's not too exciting. Goes ahead and dons the dragon scale and another herb. So that's about as bad of a treasury as you could ever ask for. It's so bad, in fact, that a lot of people, if they had gone in there to check it out with their one key, if we didn't have any gold, you'd often reset your game and hang on to the key because there's nothing in there that's too useful early on. But MisterHomes decides to just take it and go since he has plenty of other keys that he just recently bought. And we see MisterHomes, the Scorpion kill is up to level 2 and 1 experience point short from level 3.
Yeah, this has the makings to go pretty fast here in the early levels with all of that.
Yeah, especially with the town next door. MisterHomes, for example, is almost up to copper sword money. There is a copper sword available in this town nearby, as I believe Smashy went ahead and got that copper sword. So MisterHomes, he already has enough strength without a weapon to kill some of these early monsters. And we see now he will go in with copper sword money. So first he's going to check the chest down here. And, oh, he's actually a few gold short of a copper sword. Interesting that he chose to go in just at that moment. And there's a torch here. So no real important items have been found in any of the available treasure chests right off the bat. MisterHomes instead choosing to use the expensive inn here. And he'll just take a peek at the shop if the guard will get out of his way. You see Nescardinality doing some early grinding, going up to level 2 on his end. Some of the streams seem to be maybe getting out of sync, so some of the racers might be a few seconds ahead of others. I'm not too sure, because, well, what do we have purchased for MisterHomes? Looks like he may have bought the clothes.
That was what I thought I saw too.
So going with the club and clothes instead of saving up for the copper sword is Mr. Holmes. They have plenty of strength, so it's not an issue as far as being able to defeat these scorpions. Scorpion's a good early enemy to get through about the first 5 levels because they're 16 points each, and the levels come fast and furious. Mr. Holmes already venturing out to start exploring the map just on level 4. That's a little early. It's going to be a little bit tricky, although he happens to run into a Wraith, which is one of the very best next level monsters that he could run into, and yet he may have some trouble defeating it. So a little early to be exploring the map, but he wants to just take a peek. Maybe there's another town right around the corner, something like that. So now he has a lay of the land, and I expect him to settle in on a few more of these scorpion kills in the process now.
And GameboyF9 found the mountain cave, but then found a wolf and was quickly sent back on a...
Okay, so is the mountain cave, the basement of Tantegel leads to the mountain cave then?
I want to say he went through the swamp cave to get there, but he may have explored to the southeast. I hadn't caught quite how he...
Yeah, I haven't actually seen anyone go through, so as Mr. Holmes goes through here to the basement, we'll check which cave is here, because what's interesting is if this is the grave or the mountain cave, you could have a reverse gold grind available, depending on, if you open the chests and the treasury first and then go in here, you could set up a gold grind that way, as there's no traditional gold grind available in the treasury.
Yeah, he's going straight south, so it looks like swamp cave to me.
And we're going to have Nescardinality going in that direction as well. And Smashy. So, all the runners doing similar errands. And we see on Game Boy's screen, we're near the right edge of the map. And it looks like we're pretty well back up to sync with Nescardinality. We see is now up to level 5. So some early grinding. He's going to check some shops here. Looks like he was able to buy the copper sword. So copper sword now for Nescardinality and Smashy. Mr. Holmes making do for now with the club. And keeping his eye on his gold total. Maybe he'll upgrade to the copper sword later. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if anyone actually made it all the way through the swamp cave. And if you say that Game Boy made it to the other side and then found mountain cave over there, that would confirm that there's no gold grind available. If they didn't make it all the way through, there's still the chance that it could back into the backside of Garenham, which has a few extra chests over there, but that would be the only way. Nescardinality is going to go back in that direction on level 5, see if he can make it through on this attempt.
And Mr. Holmes has found himself a skeleton, which he should be able to take care of at this.
Yep, they're getting some pretty good strength gains along the way, and he's going to find a town as well with some of this early exploration that he's doing. And this is Garenham from this direction, so it's unlikely that Swamp Cave will lead to the back of Garenham. And he's going to stock up actually on herbs now, since they don't yet have any healing spells to work with. So he's going to, instead of saving up for a potential weapon upgrade, he's going to use this money for some herbs, so that he can continue his exploration, do a little bit of healing in between battles, and just make note of what's in this weapon shop. There's a large shield available here, which is you always want to keep track of where the large shield is on seeds when there's no gold grind, since the silver shield most likely will not be in play. And Game Boy with a Wraith kill on his screen, and he's also got Metal Scorpion on his screen. Level 5, he's making use of the sleep spell, which if the Metal Scorpion does stay asleep for a while, he can get him. And so great grinding from Game Boy, almost up to level 6 already. And Mr. Holmes has found the Stones of Sunlight Cave in the back of Garenham, which contained... My screen glitched on that, so I hope someone can help us with that. Looks like it was a cursed belt, according to chat, in the chest in the back of Garenham.
Yeah, mine lost that too. So thanks, chat.
And we're going to see what's in Garrenham now on Smashy's screen. It's an herb, a torch, and the Death Necklace. So the Death Necklace also gained by MisterHomes. That can come into play much later in the game, but for now, they're probably just going to hold on to it. You could potentially sell the Death Necklace for about 1,200 gold or so, if there happens to be a broadsword nearby or something like that, but you're better off doing that with maybe the Cursed Belt. You could sell that for 180 and maybe pick up a copper sword. So possibilities for MisterHomes. He's doing neither. He's just going to keep the club for now. And he's found the Metal Scorpion Zone, and he's going to use the sleep spell strategy as well. So some nice grinding by all of our on-stream runners here, and they're fairly even on experience. Gameboy going to top off on some keys and maybe make another trek through Swamp Cave.
So far, there's not a whole lot of divergence, a little bit of exploring difference here, but everybody's got about the same experience.
Yeah, Nescardinality was taking a little bit of a walk, looking at some different areas on the map already now on level 6. We're seeing some decent stats, good enough for our runners to start exploring the rest of the map, especially like MisterHomes stocked up on herbs, for example. And now it looks like, does he have heal more, did I just see? So that really will help the exploration.
Heal more will really do well to allow him to explore while finding those more dangerous enemies and getting a chance to get, I think, a lot more experiences.
Yeah, you want to start venturing out as soon as you can start reliably defeating like the next tier of enemies, like the Wraith that they were running into, and potentially if they find a Spectre or a Wolf Lord, something like that. Because you don't want to wait too long before you start exploring the map. But eventually you're going to want to find the 3 main quest items that allow you access to Charlotte Castle. And there's no way to do that but to explore the map and find various towns and caves and open all the treasure chests and potentially seek out the 3 search spots to do so. So most of our runners have done exactly that. We see MisterHomes doing a little bit of extra grinding on Metal Scorpions, trying to get to level 7 before venturing out. And we have Cole now for Nescardinality. One of the 3 search spots will be in this town for free. And of course, Silver Shield here, but unlikely ever going to be able to afford that. Mostly they're probably looking for weapon upgrades at this point.
Cole is empty. So that means everyone will be getting the hint at some point, I think.
Yeah, so with Cole being empty and a cursed belt being found, I believe that means that the other 2 search spots will contain items. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but we don't know necessarily which items those will be. One of them will definitely contain Erdrick's armor, but the other could be either the flute or the token. There's no way to know that just yet.
That's true. Our runners could bypass getting the fairy flute if they happen to find the armor first, and happen to stumble upon Erdrick's token in a chest.
And Smashy has Cole now, and he'll get the news about that, not even checking the shop, but it's going to change his mind and check out the shop anyways, even though he doesn't have the money to be able to afford much, just wants to know what's available. There is a hand axe. That's kind of the next upgrade they might look for in the near future. So good to make note that that's there. There was a large shield again back in the town of Garrenham. So those are the kinds of equipment upgrades that they're going to be targeting throughout the seed. Potentially, eventually, someone will probably want to buy a broadsword, and that will likely be about it unless they can find Erdrick's sword in one of these chests. I think we have Nescardinality in one of the major dungeons here, if I'm not mistaken, and attempting to take down a wyvern. They are pretty susceptible to sleep, and they are strong enough already to do some damage just with the copper sword. So down goes the wyvern for 64 nice experience points and level 7. So well done by Nescardinality, and exactly tied with GameboyF9 with 359 experience points. Another wyvern encountered. He may end up staying here for a while. This is a beautiful grind. Right now, it's just about the best enemy that can be comfortably killed. It doesn't seem to have any special attacks that you have to watch out for. And with the combination of the sleep and the heal more, it looks like these can be reliably defeated for 64 experience each. So another one goes down for Nescardinality. And we find Mr. Holmes, I believe, back at Tantegel Castle, also on level 7. And Smashy, for whatever reason, was low on keys, I guess, and he's going to take the long way around with enough money for just 2 keys here in the town of Rimeldar. So he goes ahead and buys the 2 keys, and he will move on from there.
I believe GameboyF9 was in Mountain Cave last time I checked, based on his dark navigation, but chat might be able to correct.
Yeah, we can see Smashy making his way towards where the Rainbow Drop Cave had been discovered by a couple of our other runners, and he's going to move on to the west. He is 1 enemy away from level 7 himself. And on level 6, of course, they already had the Heal More spell, so he's well on his way to some more exploration, just lagging slightly behind our other on-stream runners as far as gaining experience. But here he is on level 7, and Mr. Holmes is closing in on level 8. He seems to be taking the strategy of sitting around in this west zone from Tantegel Castle, where metal scorpions come up very frequently. And he's going to take an early experience lead because of this early grind decision. Now, it puts him a little bit behind with exploration, but with this Drachema, he is going to reach level 8 and probably move on from here. All right, Hawksness for Smashy, and he is going to check out what is on this tile if he can make it over there. Rogue Scorpion is an enemy that he probably could go after. They're about 50-50 to be susceptible to sleep, and he does take it down. But he's going to go with the sleep run instead of attacking the Rogue Scorpion, and seems to not be going for the spike tile after all. So interesting decision from Smashy, and navigating a rather large swamp to go down toward the southern regions here. Wolflord, a very nice enemy to run into now as well. Using the heal more nicely, and he should be able to outlast the Wolflord. Mr. Holmes, on the other hand, has a armored knight, and that usually is more of a problem, but seems to be going after it here.
If it has a high probability of casting the hurt spell, which I think he's seen so far, it could be survivable. However, here we see that it does have the sleep spell, so that could be very probable. Looks like he's got the block off, so he's going to be able to survive this as long as it's chanting spells. If it decides to switch over to hitting in consecutive turns, he will be pretty close to taking a Death Ward.
And we're going to see Smashy go back through the Swamp Cave from Tantegel Castle now. And looking for some other areas to explore. The wolf, at this point, is probably a pretty nice enemy to run into if it doesn't have any special abilities. So Smashy did pick up the copper sword early on, so he's doing double-digit damage to the wolf. Down it goes for 40. And Mr. Holmes is going after these armored knights, it appears. So, interesting play. That is a very high value enemy if you can take it down. It's worth tons of experience.
I believe it's 180.
Somewhere in that realm. I want to say 170 something, but yeah, about the same as a blue dragon, I believe, is 180. Stone Man here for Smashy is only worth 155, and they are just a huge pain to take on for such little experience. So he's going to go with the sleep run strategy to get away from the Stone Man. They are highly susceptible to sleep, but unfortunately they have tons of hit points, and right now they're just not doing enough damage to be able to reliably take them out before they wake up and cause havoc. We're going to approach the first chest here for Smashy, and we got the Stones of Sunlight. So one of our quest items in the books for Smashy now. Just needs the Silver Harp and the Erdrick's Token. Second chest containing some gold. And here's that Wyvern that Nescardinality was running into pretty frequently earlier. Unfortunately, it resists the sleep spell this time, but usually it will fall asleep. So Smashy being persistent in that strategy, and it stays asleep, and he should be able to take this Wyvern down, and that will help him catch up a little bit and make way towards level 8. And we see MisterHomes finally now has reached the town of Cole. Remember, he was doing some early grinding, so he is a little bit behind the others with the exploration. It's going to search the spot and get the Nothing Burger. And may or may not check just to see what's here in the shop. He does have hand axe money, so he will upgrade to the hand axe. Nice weapon upgrade for MisterHomes, and he will move on with his exploration now. Cannot even afford the inn at this juncture, I don't believe. Oh, no, he got a rebate for his previous weapon. So take an inn, refill your HP and MP, and continue your travels.
So I was just taking a look at even the runners that we aren't restreaming right now, and it looks like everybody is on level 7 and 8, so it's a pretty tight race.
So I apologize. I'm not sure if it's on my end, Bobski, but my view is pretty hosed on my seeing the 4 screens right now. So
yeah,
I've mainly been commenting on Smashy's screen because it's like the only one I can see really well. So I apologize for that. Hopefully, Game Boy and Nescardinality are probably doing quite well. The 5th and final chest.
Nescardinality is stopped in Cole, taking the inn. But yes, I'm seeing the same thing on our commentary channel.
So the last chest was an herb, I believe, on Smashy's screen. So we did see the Stones of Sunlight, and he has the Silver Harp marked off as well. And sometimes the token, being the last of the quest items, is the trickiest to find because it could be in a chest or on a search spot. The remaining search spots that have not been explored yet by Smashy, he did not check out that spike tile enemy in Hawksness, and that is guarding one of the search spots. And eventually, if they find the town of Cantlin, that could lead us to some coordinates for an overworld search spot. And so the token could be on one of those two. The armor will definitely be on the other one. But the token could still be in the chest. We have a few more chests remaining that have not been opened yet by any of our runners, but we are running out of chests pretty quickly. We've seen the one in Rimeldar, we've seen the ones in the towns of Garenham and Tantegel Castle. The Stones of Sunlight Cave was in the back of Garenham, and we've now seen all the chests in the Mountain Cave. So the only chests other than that will be in the Grave, and there's one in the Tablet Cave if we haven't seen either of those yet. And what we'd be looking for is potentially the token could be in one of those chests, and maybe the sword could also be in one of those chests. The token, of course, could also be on a search spot, and the sword, of course, could also be in the chests in Charlotte Castle. And we have the grave now for Nescardinality, so some of our questions will be answered there. We got the herb and some more gold and some more gold. And that's actually useful when there's no gold grind available. There's 2 fairly accessible gold chests right there. I'm not sure how close he is to a town, but you could pretty quickly grind up some full plate money or some broadsword money. Looks like we have the broadsword marked off already for Nescardinality, so he is doing some pretty good damage to the enemies as is. As we see here, not even bothering to put the wyvern to sleep anymore. He probably is going to 2-shot this enemy most of the time with the broadsword. And so he does just that, and he will continue through the doorway here to the lower levels of the grave.
So based on his tracker, it looks like Nescardinality might have gone ahead and sold the death necklace to get that broadsword money.
Okay, that would be an interesting play, especially this early in the seed. But when gold seems to be hard to come by. That could be an interesting play to get yourself a nice weapon pretty quickly. When otherwise, you might be stuck with that copper sword that they had earlier. He is going to raid the treasury now. I don't know if he did so earlier, but there's not much in here. It's just some extra items here. And he's stocking up on probably an herb chest here. Nope, it wasn't an herb chest. I'm not sure what he was grinding there. Well, perhaps this is the herb chest. So, interesting that Nescardinality chose to do the grind coming out of the death warp from the grave. And he will presumably restock on keys now and maybe make another trip back through Swamp Cave. I haven't really caught what's on the other side of the Swamp Cave so much. I don't know if there's a lot of additional locations over there to be found. But he's going to make his way back through there. And if they're strong enough at some point, if they wanted to, they could attempt to go rescue the princess along the way. They might be a little bit weak to take on those types of enemies still. We see Nescardinality just going due south, not checking for the spike tile. Oh, but wait. Yeah, I think he's near the bottom here. So, just going to pop out the other side. And here is the other side of Swamp Cave. So there is this cave here, and this is, like you said, I think this is a mountain cave, correct?
Yeah, this is where I saw mountain cave.
Oh, wait a minute.
Earlier.
This looks more like tablet, just based on the way he was walking.
That very well could be. I could have misseen it.
I am a little bit lost myself. I think he thought it was tablet, but instead it actually is mountain cave. So he's retracing his steps, and he's going to begin his exploration of the mountain cave, having already seen the top few chests in the grave. So he'll be well on his way to getting those quest items that are in this cave here. MisterHomes is going to reach level 10 with this wyvern kill, with a very nice experienced lead, helped out partially due to that early game grind. We saw him go all the way up to level 8 on those metal scorpions next to Tantilu Castle, while our other runners were exploring the map as early as levels 5 and 6. And he's just picked up Hurt More, I believe, if he didn't have it already. So MisterHomes is off and running. Just needs to get some exploration done now. He is pretty well... I guess we shouldn't say that he's invincible at this point. The hit points are still pretty low, but he's got the Heal More spell, the Hurt More spell. There we see Charlotte Castle on his screen. He's going to be able to attack this green dragon with the Hurt More spell. So some rapid progress can be made now by MisterHomes. And
he just barely finds Charlock there on the edge of the screen, so I believe that'll be useful information, but he's not ready to go yet. Down as well.
Yep, typically we're going to need several more levels. We don't have any quest items marked off yet for MisterHomes, but he is well on his way to making rapid progress. He's going to pick up the small shield here. I think we saw the large shield in Garenham, although I don't know if MisterHomes has been to the town of Garenham. He has got enough gold for it. And Rogue Scorpions are perfect enemies once you do have the Hurt More spell. They're always going to go down in one hit to the Hurt More, and they're worth 70 experience each. And we have Smashy instead using the sleep run from the Rogue Scorpion. So that just kind of shows you the difference that one level can make. Mr. Holmes with a quick 70 points every time he runs into one. Smashy continues to avoid that battle. And he's going to take a death to the wizard here in the middle of this giant swamp. And I think Game Boy just raided the top 3 chests in the grave. So he is catching up exploration-wise with Nescardinality. But I feel like Nescardinality's got a pretty good advantage here. He's opened up most of the chests in the game already, and he is just a couple of battles away from having hurt more himself. So his focus, for the most part, will be on getting to those search spots now pretty quickly so that he can obtain Erdrick's armor and potentially that token. He's going to finish up the mountain cave here. He's got one more chest just a couple of steps to the north. And he'll probably be acquiring level 10 at the same time here. Level 10 with Hurt More. So nice progress by Nescardinality. And Mr. Holmes has finally found the tablet cave. I haven't noticed anyone else getting to this cave yet. So let's check out this chest. Just the fairy water. So at least on our end here, there's only the 2 chests in the bottom levels of the grave that I don't believe we've seen yet. And we still don't have Erdrick's sword, and we don't have the token. So unless they're both in those 2 chests, we're going to either have a sword in Sharlock, or we're going to have a token on a search spot, and probably both. And we do see now, see this Magiwyvern is susceptible to Hurt More, and Nescardinality not going after it with Hurt More. So I don't know if maybe he's taking a Death Warp, because he did open all of those chests. So he maybe is just done in that part of the world. And but yeah, otherwise Magiwyvern is a great Hurt More enemy as well. Mr. Holmes crossing a bridge, finding some more wyverns. So I feel like the enemy sets have been pretty tame. I haven't seen a whole lot of Dragonlord Breath, a whole lot of red dragons running around, anything like that. Even this Armored Knight appears to be beatable pretty early on. Although it does have sleep here, so you never really want to see sleep, although it follows that up with hurt. But you do want to make note, anytime you see a Sharlock enemy with the sleep spell, that could potentially be something that can trip you up on your final dive to the Dragonlord. So just want to be wary of the Armored Knight there.
Yeah, we really haven't seen too many of the endgame enemies yet, so there still could be some troublesome combos for the dives. We'll just have to wait and see how that pans.
Yeah, it looks like 3 of our on-screen runners have upgraded to the large shield along the way, that being the best shield that you're likely to be able to afford, and of course you're never going to find a better one. So oftentimes when there's no gold grind available, that's kind of a priority, because eventually you will find Erdrick's sword, and you will find Erdrick's armor. So sometimes making sure that you buy that shield at some point is a nice priority. Mr. Holmes opting for the small shield so far. And he is going to attempt to trip through Swamp Cave. And running into a gold man. I often wonder if it might be worthwhile to fight a gold man in a seed like this, where it's hard to come across any gold. Right now, Mr. Holmes, for example, just on the hand axe and the small shield, surely he'll want to buy some more equipment in the near future, but makes his way through and spots the cave on the other side. And he's very close to level 11. While Game Boy is struggling just to reach level 10. This last little bit to get to level 10 is pretty important, because level 10, of course, is Hurt More. So Game Boy doing a nice job with the sleep strats on the Magiwyvern, and should be able to outlast it for a nice experience gain. 1 more of these, maybe 2 more, I guess, it would take to get to level 10.
And Smashy is trying the same push on a knight right now. He's attempting to sleep and attack.
Yes, now see, the Knight is less susceptible to sleep than the Magic Wyvern, but it is still about 50-50 to land, and Smashy does outlast it, so he has reached level 10, and Game Boy will be the last of our 4 runners here to reach level 10 when he does so. He's going to make his way over to Cole first. I think he's been here before, probably just wants to take an inn to recoup his resources, and Smashy now... I assume he knows that he has hurt more, but of course he doesn't have any MP, so he's got to run from the Armored Knight for now. Otherwise, that would be a nice enemy to run into at this point. So he's looking around for a town. He finds a cave instead. I don't know if he's been to that cave yet. So he's going to check it out, see what it is. If it's the Staff Cave, for example, he could get this errand out of the way right now and trade that harp in for the staff, and it is the Staff Cave. So it's good that he doubled back to check out this cave. He can get this out of the way. And so our first of our runners to have the staff in hand. And Game Boy has found a little desert zone to walk back and forth, and it looks like it's in about the same place that Smashy was. At least he is finding the same enemy here, the Knight. And again, the Knight is susceptible to sleep, but it's only about 50-50. So he'll take a couple of cracks at that, and if he can outlast this Knight, it's going to take probably 4 or 5 attacks, since he's just on the... Oh, looks like we do have the broadsword for Game Boy, so maybe like 3 or 4 attacks. Kind of a lengthy battle, but it will be worthwhile. He's going to get level 10 and hurt more, and there it goes. So he's got some catching up to do, but things will pick up speed quickly with heal more and hurt more at your disposal.
And Mr. Holmes has just about a 400-point experience lead on Nescardinality. That's a couple enemies, and an unfortunate time to take a death would level that out pretty quick.
Yeah, I feel like Nescardinality's done a nice job keeping pace. Mr. Holmes did go out to that early lead, and Nescardinality has actually done some pretty good exploration and has still maintained pace with Mr. Holmes, just a little bit behind experience-wise, but has already been in the grave and in the mountain cave. And, you know, we know that he's very good at mapping his way through a seed. He doesn't tend to explore the same place twice. And here's a town tucked away that I'm not sure that we've seen recently. It is Hawksness. And now that he has Heal More and Hurt More, Nescardinality, I think, is going to go after the Spike Tile enemy here. I believe he would be the first of our 4 runners here to do so.
And he took a back attack of Dragon Lord 2 Breath, so that was definitely not what you want to see with the axe. And he seems to have decided that the trap tile was not on this dive, on this go. So it looks like he's going to go back and take an inn before re-attempting Hawksness there. He does only have 7 MP.
So did he see the Spike Tile enemy yet, or no? I just had
No,
hiccup.
He got in, found an Axe Knight, and then took care of it. But he has only 7 magic points, so he's going to go take an inn.
We see the Axe Knight doing the same damage there to GameboyF9, but that was the Spike Tile enemy, and that was Erdrick's Armor on the Spike Tile for Hawksness. So we have Erdrick's Armor for GameboyF9, and a nice bit of exploration over with now for Game Boy. If he happens to find that token in a chest, then he won't have to worry about the overworld coordinates, or if he finds Cantlin in his travels, he'll be on his way to look for the token. And having that armor is a nice boost. He only had the clothes, I believe, before that. So a pretty good defensive boost, along with a lot of other nice features of having the Erdrick's armor equipped. One of which is that he's no longer taking damage from all this swamp that seems to be all over the seed.
That'll definitely assist, making his magic go a lot further as he And if we shift over to Smashy, it looks like Smashy is doing a count.
Okay, I had not even noticed anybody in the town of Cantlin yet, so... but I think you're right. It's taking some pretty deliberate steps. And Game Boy, let's see if... I think, yeah, he was in coal earlier, just going with the in stop here. So 2 of the 3 search spots were found by Game Boy, and Smashy is closing in on the 3rd and final search spot. Will it be the flute, or will it be the token? That is the question. If there are coordinates given, then there has to be something there. It's going to be one of those 2 items. And it is the token. So the token not in a chest, it's on the overworld. So, yeah, that means the remaining 2 chests in the bottom of the grave, they could potentially be searched for Erdrick's sword still. But otherwise, no quest items down there.
And it looks like Smashy is going to go ahead and take the trap tile here as well. Has plenty of magic. It looks like he could go after.
Yeah, nice piece of routing. His count seemed to take him in the vicinity of Hawksness. Remembers that town was there. He saw this previously. So he's going to hop right back in now that he has hurt more, and he's going to see that it is an Axe Knight. Unfortunately, he gets back attacked, but doesn't get the Dragon Lord Breath, so he survives, and sometimes you can one-shot it with hurt more, and this time he does. And, okay, well, he didn't search the spot, so either he already had it, but he was taking damage from the swamp, correct? So
yeah, he's taking damage from the swamp, so he might have just forgotten to take it.
Yeah, because now he's going to get the Dragon Lord Breath to the face, so I would call that kind of a mistake, because he's going to have to come back here now to get that armor. So
yeah, he took 72 damage there, so there's no way he's wearing the armor.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That was a bit exuberant to just want to do some Axe Knight grinding while he was there, but you want to search that spot first most of the time. Well, at least he knows what's there. It's an Axe Knight with Dragon Lord Breath, which may or may not still be a pretty decent grind. Once you have the Erdrick's armor, Dragon Lord Breath is only going to do a max of 48 damage. So it could still be a pretty good end game grind if they need a few more levels after acquiring everything. We'll see what the runners choose to do.
It looks like he's going to route right back there and try it again, but I may be wrong. MisterHomes just grabbed the Staff of Rain from the Wizard in the Cave. And yeah, it looks like he's still got a little bit of a lead, but he did just take a death.
Yep, and MisterHomes was a little bit behind with exploration earlier, but we see now that he has gone through Mountain Cave. He's got the harp and the stones, and now he's got the staff. So, and at some point, I don't know how close Hawksness was to Tanteagle. If he goes to Hawksness and takes care of that, then he and Nescardinality are shaping up to have a really nice race here. They both have a bit of an experience lead over our other 2 on-stream runners, and MisterHomes catching up on exploration and item gathering.
So GameboyF9 is diving to the bottom of the grave right now.
Yeah, I noticed that's part of Nescardinality's style when the sword has not been found. He likes to get those chests out of the way if possible before entering Sharlock, whereas a lot of other runners will take the gamble and never go down to the bottom of the grave. Just seems to be his style. He likes to get all the chests opened so that he knows for sure where the sword is. And yeah, so we're seeing that again here.
But just the wings for GameboyF9 in that 5th chest in the deepest part of the grave.
Oh, okay, well, so that was Game Boy that was in the grave. So was Nescardinality also in the bottom of the grave?
I believe he was in the grave, but I didn't see how far down he went. He was doing dark navigation, so I looked over and I saw him in the dark, and that's all I...
Okay. And I also am not totally sure if they have the outside spell, so maybe he just got out of there after getting what he needed. I'm speculating, I'm not totally sure. But yeah, if Game Boy opens the very bottom and he's walking out, maybe they don't have outside, and it looks like they don't, so... Yeah, interesting. So Game Boy now knows that the sword is not down here. he, from his perspective, he's still looking for the token as well. We know that he's going to need to find the town of Cantlin and get the coordinates for the token. That's an advantage that Smashy has over the rest of our runners, although Mr. Homes now is getting the coordinates. We got 39 south, 28 west, and that is not an easy count, but it is countable, as we saw from Smashy. And so Mr. Homes likely will do that pretty soon, because it's basically just that and Hawksness for Mr. Homes at this point.
So now Smashy has also found the grave and is making his way through it, or just collecting the top 2 gold chests and then working his way.
Yeah, I was kind of curious if that was going to be a play from some of our runners to just get that gold, the 2 gold chests a couple of times to be able to maybe afford something nice. Although Smashy has the best equipment he's going to be able to get. Most likely is not going to grind up for a flame sword or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not totally sure about that. Game Boy took a death out of the grave and made his way now back to Hawksness. And he already has the armor. So Game Boy oftentimes will do a bit of a mid-game grind if there is an Axe Knight grind pretty easily available. So that is what he's doing. He just wants to catch up on this experience deficit that that he has. Mr. Homes almost 1,000 points ahead of Game Boy at this point, but if Game Boy stays here for 5 or 10 minutes, that lead will evaporate. On the other hand, he still has some things to do, such as finding Cantlin and tracking down the token.
I don't believe I've seen Game Boy trade in the harp for the Staff of Rain either, so he'll have a little bit, as you mentioned. So it's not quite as direct as grind and then just visit the jerk. He's got a little bit of gameplay yet.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a strategic decision. Sometimes he wants to grind in kind of a mid-game grind where he just wants to get a few more levels to make the rest of his seed easier. Perhaps if you gain some more agility, you can repel a lot more monsters on the overworld at that point, you know, and so on. So he's just taking a couple of minutes to get some experience here on this Axe Knight. Seemed maybe it was kind of en route to other things. And so we can see how quickly he's gaining ground on the experience. He's already up to level 12 here.
Jay Coper, from chat, I believe that there is a town about 20 steps away, but I may be mistaken. I've been trying to watch all.
I think it was northwest through that desert. I thought was Cole, wasn't it?
I believe so.
And he's going there now, presumably to heal and come right back here. That is kind of the Game Boy way. He's going to go on this Axe Knight for a while, I think. If he takes a north turn from here, I believe there's a town right there. Mr. Homes now closing in on 13, so he's done a nice job of kind of just maintaining that small lead that he's had ever since the early grind on level 7 and 8 that he did on those Metal Scorpions. Making nice use of the Hurt More on a Green Dragon here for level 13. And Nescardinality right on his heels, just a few hundred points behind, and he is going to get the final chest in the bottom of the grave now. And I don't recall seeing Nescardinality find the tablet cave. We know there's nothing useful there. I'm not sure if he's been in there or not, but he's quickly going to know for sure that Urgic Sword is indeed in Charlotte Castle. And he just has to find Cantlin now in order to track down the token. He knows now that the token is not in a chest if he has opened all the chests.
And he's going to take a Death Warp out of here on purpose.
Yeah, that makes sense. They don't have the outside spell, and there's probably nothing in this part of the world that he wants to continue exploring, so he's taking a death, and he'll consult his map that he always draws to see where he's going to start looking now for the town of Cantlin. So meanwhile, Game Boy did not continue with that grind on the Axe Knight, deciding that he does have a few too many things to do. And we have Brackenary as just kind of an in stop here. And he saw Charlock on his screen. We see Smashy now entering Charlock Castle, or at least putting the Rainbow Drop in place. So he has already gotten all 3 quest items and visited the Staff Cave and the Rainbow Drop Cave. And he has access to Charlotte Castle if he wants to go in there for any reason. We know the sword is in there, for example. He could do an early sword dive, potentially, and have a nicer time chopping down some enemies with Erdrick's sword. So that's the advantage that Smashy enjoys. He's a little behind on the experience battle, but he basically has everything, because I think he knows at this point also that the sword's in Charlock. He already has the armor, so he's not actually looking for anything else now, which means that he can try and choose his most efficient grind that he can think of. So I'll be curious to see if he settles on the Axe Knight, which has Dragonlord Breath and is on the Spike Tile and Hawksness, or if he wants to go into Charlock and fight enemies in there en route to getting the sword.
I think this seed started with really low agility, so it'll be interesting to see if that's grown considerably since then. They started, I think, with agility being the only one in single digits. They're at 50, 54, and 57 right now, so
yep.
It's not particularly impressive, but it's not the worst it could be.
Yeah, thanks to Cyberdark, our tracker. We also note it's a pretty low strength score, too. So 84 attack power with the broadsword is pretty... it takes a long time to fight endgame enemies. Even if you had Erdrick's sword right now, it's only 104 attack power. So we're going to need several more levels. So sometimes when you have a lot of levels left to go, it's nice to go for that sword dive, because it doesn't really cost you anything, assuming that you're gaining experience on the way down on Charlock level enemies. But if, we were getting close, then maybe just go into Hawksness and get the Axe Knights that you need, and then get the sword just en route to the Dragon Lord. So those are kind of the 2 possibilities when we get to that point. I think Smashy is still a few levels away, but he just has to decide what to do. Now, from his perspective, I haven't watched to see if he has actually searched all the chests. I don't remember him being in the bottom of the grave, for example, and I don't remember if he was going through the Tablet Cave at any point. That we saw the other runners doing those things. So he may not know for sure that the sword is in Charlock, which is sometimes another reason why you might want to dive in there early, just so that you know for sure. But he is instead going to go with the end game grind on the Axe Knight and see if he can make up some ground now. He's 700 or 800 points behind MisterHomes and Nescardinality, but he is going to be able to do a dedicated grind at about 500 experience points per minute, depending on how close the inn is, while MisterHomes and Nescardinality are still looking for the token.
Yeah, he's going to be able to take 2 more fights here at best, and then he will need to take an in trip. So we'll see kind of how that shakes.
We see Smashy's already overcome. I think Game Boy was slightly ahead of him a few minutes ago with experience, but because of his mid-game grind on the Axe Knights, but now Smashy has overtaken Game Boy. He's going to go back to the inn, as you mentioned. He just now got the level for 13 with that trip to Hawksness. So. And we do have Cantlin now for Nescardinality. That's big, because this is going to lead him to the token. So the faster he can get this information, the better. MisterHomes, I believe we saw that he already had the coordinates. I think he got those a few minutes ago, so he is going to want to count that out pretty soon if he hasn't done so already, and Nescardinality will make that note. And I think Nescardinality knows the token has to be there, because I want to say that he has seen all the chests at this point. I know he was in the bottom of the grave, and I think we saw him in the Tablet Cave as well. We certainly saw MisterHomes in the Tablet Cave. So they should both be counting out for the token. Looks like MisterHomes is doing that right now. I can see some counting steps going on, and he's closing in on the token. Nescardinality not far behind.
I'm wondering if MisterHomes thinks that the search spot might be Erdrick's armor? Because he hasn't gotten that yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I think he knows it has to be one or the other, because I know for sure Mr. Holmes has been in the tablet cave.
As a convenient continuation of that thought, though, it is very, very close to Hawksness. It is 2 steps away, so he'll find it right south 1 step.
That's right. Smashy did this same route. He counted this out, picked up the token, and then just went a few more steps towards Hawksnest. Took care of both at the same time, basically. So, there goes Mr. Holmes on his quest for the armor. And then I believe he does know where the Rainbow Drop Cave is. Well, we don't have the Rainbow Drop marked off for him yet, but assuming he knows where that is, he's a minute or 2 away from being in grind mode himself. And Smashy has not overtaken him yet on the experience lead. So this is shaping up to be a pretty close finish between all 3 of our runners. Nescardinality now getting the staff. So, and Game Boy, I would say, is the one that's a little bit behind, both experience-wise and item-wise. But these 3, Smashy, Mr. Holmes, and Nescardinality, seem to be very close now.
I think the first person to get an effective dive through once they see some magic stats will definitely have probably the best chance, but it's going to be pretty close, I think, between these 3. If we look to our runners not on stream, we have JJ Schmidt with level 13. He's right about at 300 behind Smashy right now. WMD is at level 11. Tilo is exploring a cave, and I don't have that visible to me. Lorgun is at level 11. Edge Figaro is at level 12. And Beta Strap is at level 11. So, all of them pretty close behind.
Yep, if you happen to see where Tilo's at, that'd be useful as well. And so yeah, it looks like then that the 3 runners on stream here are battling out for first place potentially.
Yep, Tilo is at level 13 at 4,300 experience.
Very good. So Mr. Holmes with the armor and continuing his grind. Presumably he knows where to go for the Rainbow Drop, and so he is in item go mode, same items available as Smashy once he picks up his drop. And Smashy has closed the gap. Mr. Holmes running out of resources there, takes the Death Warp, gonna have to walk back to Hawksnest if that's how he wants to continue his grind. And while he's doing so, I expect Smashy to basically catch up on the experience lead, and although Smashy's out of resources now as well. So very close between those 2. Nescardinality is just doing a little bit more running around, but no, he is now in the same grind mode. It's very close between these 3 runners now. Interesting race we have here.
It'll really come down to if we haven't seen any of the Sharlock enemies. I know we've seen blue dragons. I think I've only seen people run from them that I've been paying attention to. I don't think I've seen much of the red dragons. And you know, we'll see what the enemy set looks like.
So of note here is that the main grind of choice here is an Axe Knight, which you're typically going to use Hurt More against him for the maximum efficiency. So that means you don't really necessarily need the Erdrick Sword as far as speeding up your grind. So in addition to that, we have a situation, at least so far, where we have a fairly low agility seed, and we don't have access to the Silver Shield. So they're going to be at a fairly low defense power score, probably not going to be defense breaking Sharlock enemies, and they're only going to have the Broadsword on the way down. So all those factors point towards not fighting your way down for the last level. I expect these runners probably will just stay with the Axe Knight until they actually get the level that they need for go time at this point. I don't think there's any use in getting the sword early, and I don't think fighting your way down is going to be particularly a good strategy here. So it's just a matter of literally 1 or 2 Axe Knights difference in where they're at with their grind here, And that could just be a matter of some randomness. Does the Axe Knight go down in one shot to your hurt more, or does it take 2 attacks, you know, and your opponent's getting it in one shot? Does your hurt more miss once or twice against the Axe Knight and your opponent doesn't have that bad luck? So it's close enough here where some RNG can just swing the balance, and it's going to be an exciting finish.
Because that grind enemy is that Axe Knight, it actually also has heal more, but it's a pretty much non-issue based on the amount of HP it.
You said the Axe Knight has the heal more spell?
Yes, it does. That. So if it does survive that first one, it can heal back up to...
Yeah. And so what that means is that then you would not be able to kill it on the next hurt more attempt. If it heal mores, it'll heal more all the way up to max. And so then you have to swing with your sword like we're seeing MisterHomes do here to do about 20 damage. And then it gives the opportunity for it to do the Dragon Lord Breath on you like it just did. And then you have to do the hurt more again. So it is a little bit of a slower grind and more resource intensive grind than the typical Axe Knight would be. Still probably the fastest choice though. It's hard to think if there's a better option for your grind unless, you know, there was a really good enemy set right on the first floor of Charlotte Castle or something like that, which nobody's actually checked for that yet. But yeah, having the heal more spell, it is a little bit of a complication, and MisterHomes already out of resources on this cycle, and that'll allow Smashy to catch up a little bit. He's currently 600 behind with a whole bunch of MP at his disposal. So while MisterHomes is walking all the way back to Hawksness, we'll see if Smashy can close the gap. Nescardinality just a minute or two behind on his grind here in the low 6,000s, but pretty close between all three of them here, while Gameboy finishes up his last few errands to get himself into grind and go mode.
So I've seen both MisterHomes and Nescardinality take death warps out of Hawksness. I believe Smashy has been walking to the inn, so it'll be interesting to see if that makes any difference in how it plays. It is relatively close. I think it's about 20 extra steps to get from Tanagal to Hawksness for this grind.
Yeah,
so we'll see if that saves enough time for Smashy to get, you know, 1 or 2 more Axe Knights every go.
Yeah, and don't forget, you have to walk both ways. You have to walk to the inn and you have to walk back. And you have to oftentimes walk at least partway through the town to get to the inn and then back out of town. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually less walking for MisterHomes and Nescardinality. They've probably figured that out. And what happens also is that you can oftentimes get 1 or 2 extra kills by draining your resources all the way to 0. Whereas Smashy may be aborting a little early so that he can make the walk back to town. So it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say if that will actually be an edge for any of our runners here. But we see that Smashy has closed the gap, but unfortunately now it's his turn to go back to the inn, and MisterHomes has a bunch of MP to work with. So advantage MisterHomes probably by a minute or so, followed by Smashy, and then I would say Nescardinality is about a minute behind him. But that type of lead can change even just within Charlotte Castle, for example. Just the encounter luck you get with Charlotte Castle, being able to run from enemies or getting blocked from enemies. So this is anybody's race still. And to me, if MisterHomes does manage to hold on to this slim lead and comes away with the victory here, I kind of feel like it goes back to his decision to do the early grind on levels 6, 7, and 8 on the Metal Scorpion zone next to Tantegel Castle, while the rest were doing a little bit of exploring and not quite able to really kill anything while they were looking around during those couple of minutes. Sometimes grinding a little bit too long actually backfires on you because you don't get your exploration done as fast and everybody's at the grind zone before you are. But MisterHomes was able to round up everything he needed pretty efficiently once he did start exploring. I would say that is the slight difference in this race right now. It's MisterHomes' early grind, but we'll see if it pans out. It's still very close. And finally, GameboyF9 has the town of Cantwin that he's been looking for, so he will finally get his coordinates. And I believe that this is the only place left for him. He knows the token has to be there. I think he's seen all the treasure chests. We saw that he was in the bottom of the grave earlier, so token can't be in a chest from his perspective, and neither can the sword. He knows the token has to be at these coordinates, so he will finally have the opportunity to go track that down and get into his grind mode. He is now fallen behind on the experience battle because everyone else has been doing a dedicated grind while he's been running around taking care of these last few things. So a little bit of tough luck with the exploration for Game Boy, just taking a bit longer to get these things done.
For a second, Mr. Holmes took off the opposite direction from Cole, and I thought it looks like he might be going to Sharlock to go and take a dive. He's no longer going back to Hawksness for that grind, so...
Yeah, so he's at... Yep, he might be going for game here. Presumably, once he gets the sword, he'll be at 129 attack power. He's a little light on MP, so he would maybe bank on getting a few extra HP in order to be able to equip the Death Necklace on his next level up. So I think that's what he's shooting for. He's going to be finishing off this level on the way, hoping for some HP, and then going for game after picking up the sword. And if it doesn't work out that way, then he'll probably just, he'll be gaining a pretty good amount of experience on the way down anyways. So pretty interesting choice for Mr. Holmes. Again, with low defense power here, no silver shield and low agility, you're looking at not really being able to fight your way down very easily. You're going to be taking damage even from the lowly wizard or the star wyvern or anything like that you might run into. So he's going to have to carefully pick and choose when to fight and when to run. And if you run too often, you start to lose ground on the experience battle with Smashy and Nescardinality, who are racking up the Axonite corpses here. So a pretty risky strat from Mr. Holmes, but if it works out, he will be the first one to be standing in front of the Dragon Lord ready to go.
And he did cast spells against that stone man that he saw on the first floor. So it looks like he's going to dip below the 10 or 9 heal mores that he walked in with.
Yeah, to me that makes this whole thing much less good. If he's actually going to be like hurt mooring things on the way down and stuff like that, and he's going to have to re-dive, then I actually don't like this plan. I think the Axonite grind was better than fighting Sharlock enemies. The Axonite is slower than a typical Axonite because of that heal more possibility, but I'm less thrilled with this dive. If he could have found a way to fight his way down and keep the MP, I think he actually had a chance to go for game on this dive because of the potential to use the Death Necklace.
Yeah, it looks like he's going after the sword to me. I think he has a couple herbs in his inventory, and he opted for a heal more there.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, now that he's gone this far, he's going to try and get the sword on this dive. It's just, you don't really need the sword when you're grinding Axonites is the thing. So it's, I'm a little bit surprised by this decision now. At first, I thought it was a great move to try and go for game there. But yeah, now I'm not really liking this play, but it's certainly a divergence. So we'll see if he loses his lead and has problems because of this decision, or if it's going to work out for him. So that'll be close to watch, because he did have clearly a 1 to 2 minute lead over Smashy, and just slightly more over Nescardinality. Meanwhile, I think Nescardinality's closed the gap with Smashy, so maybe this difference of walking back and forth to the inn actually does favor those who are not doing that. Nescardinality, yeah, he's pretty much closed the gap now with Smashy, so that's turning out to be a very close race between those two now, as Mr. Holmes continues to dive for the sword here.
Yeah, so Nescardinality just came within 20 of Smashy right there. So right now, it looks like he's going to take the lead, and they're just going to go back and forth as they're both facing it.
And GameboyF9, his one really good enemy away from level 15, I almost feel like he might be just doing an overworld grind here on these rogue scorpions and green dragons, maybe not liking the Axe Knight having the heal more spell and the Dragon Lord breath. I think he's just walking around in this forest and he's getting an awful lot of rogue scorpions and green dragons, which are very nice hurt moreable enemies. So that's kind of a nice divergence as well. He's on level 15 now, catching up. It's about 1,500 points behind Smashy now at this point. And we're going to get level 16 now for MisterHomes. Let's watch and see what he gets on these stats. Yeah, see, so now he has the 3 power and the 11 hit points. I think he could have gone for game here with that boost. He would be up to 142 attack power now with, you know, once he gets the sword and with the death necklace, and he now has enough hit points to use the death necklace. If he could have done that while holding on to the 77 MP that he started with, I think he could be going for game right now. Instead, he's going to have to exit and redive. So
it would have been very close. It really would have depended on his encounter luck. I don't think there are a ton of enemies that he can punch through on his way down, or even hit with the broadsword. I think he almost needs the Erdrick's sword to get the level if he's not using magic.
Yeah, it's just the problem is, like, you know, Nescardinality is going to get that level on the Axe Knight here, and then he's going to just take one dive. He's going to get to 16. He's going to run away from enemies and just dive straight down, get the sword, and go for game. And this is just a much longer process for MisterHomes because he chose to fight his way down without the defense power that it takes to defense break any enemies on the way. So then he had to heal himself, and he had to use spells against the monsters. So it looks to me like this whole thing is backfiring for MisterHomes, and yet, if he gets this sword right now and casts outside and goes for the redive, it's still a very close race because Nescardinality hasn't quite gotten this level yet. And Smashy has just gotten it, and he immediately casts return. I think he knows it's go time. So,
yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think the low agility makes keeping a lot of that magic intact pretty hard, just because of the way that Charlock is going to shape out. I think the enemies don't look super friendly. I didn't see too many red dragons, so it doesn't look like the run stop is out there, but it's definitely not super conducive.
So this is interesting. I think Smashy must have actually run out of keys, and he knows he needs one to get into the treasury in Charlotte Castle. So heads up play after casting return to pop over to the Rimuldar shop to get a couple of keys. Now he's basically out of magic anyways. He can... he's got a bunch of gold as well.
Yeah, he almost did the natural gold grind there.
I believe he just sold his broadsword. And... yeah, so he sold his broadsword.
He may go find those 2 chests in the top of Grave, and then come right back and buy that silver shield.
It's just that he should be going right now into Charlotte Castle. So this is one of those things where I think he's just looking at his gold too much right now and thinking, I'm so close.
Importantly, he also didn't pick up a key there.
No, he went into the Rimuldar shop.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, before. He just bought 2 keys there. So, yep. He was out of keys. So he went back there and bought 2 keys. And then he checked out the shop there and sold his broadsword. So now, unless he saw a flame sword or something, but he already... yeah, I'm going to have to watch to see what Smashy's up to here. But meanwhile, I would think Nescardinality is just going for game. I'm waiting for someone to just do what I think is the right play, which is to just get level 16 and then just go for the Dragon Lord. So let's see if Nescardinality agrees with that plan. Right now, he's actually still fighting, so I think he's nervous that, like you said, the 66 agility will be maybe a potential problem. So he's getting some insurance experience along the way, but I think he's intending to go for game on this dive. And just in case it fails miserably, he's getting some experience on the way. But again, with 135 hit points, some of the danger of having 66 agility is mitigated because you have 1 or 2 extra turns to try and run from some battles because you have so many hit points. So this dive is definitely kind of a stressful one with low agility, but I think it's doable, and the stats seem to favor winning against the Dragon Lord right here on level 16. So Nescardinality's going for it. The other runners seem to be doing other things before doing it. So especially Smashy here, I'm super curious on what he's up to.
He looks like he's back in Hawksness, so he might be going for yet another level.
Yeah, the Axe Knight does give gold as well as experience. So
he could just be doing the natural gold grind there.
Yeah.
And it also looks like Mr. Holmes might be grabbing some herbs and then going right back on the dive. So he will be probably a floor and a half, 2 floors behind Nescardinality by the time he gets back into.
Yeah, so to me, this tells me that Smashy feels like level 16 is not winnable, where to me, the stats clearly indicate that it is winnable if you can get there. So either he's super worried about the low agility score, or he just doesn't think that the numbers work to be able to win here, and he thinks that he needs to go to 17 anyways. Otherwise, all of this just to get the silver shield is just lost time, in my opinion. So interesting play. All 3 of our runners doing totally different things here. And even Game Boy with some of that overworld grinding. And Game Boy now is on his way to get the token. And he's still got some catching up to do, but he's getting close to 16 himself, kind of out of the blue. So, wow, interesting finish we have here.
Yeah, the dive isn't quite free. I just come back to this dive over and over again. So I think Smashy might just grab the shield and go. I think he just thinks that that's that much more comfortable with that low MP and agility. But yeah, it's going to be very close. It'll be interesting to see how kind of these 3 who took very different choices all at the same, pretty much the same point.
So this is one of the real stressful spots. Nescardinality just continues to try to run from the Armored Knight with 66 agility. Keeps getting put to sleep, but thankfully it keeps also casting hurt. So it's just like, well, is he going to just physical me a couple of times and that's the end of my dive? Or am I going to get away from this guy? Meanwhile, it's kind of a time sink. You're trying to run from an enemy at 66 agility that maybe you have like, a little better than 1 out of 3 chance of running. And here's another Armored Knight. So this is just a whole big stressful situation for Nescardinality. But meanwhile, he's only down 3 MP with all this happening to him. So, it's still possible to get there with all the MP. It's just kind of like you have to deal with all of this. So another protracted Armored Knight battle. And if this keeps happening to Nescardinality, Mr. Holmes could actually just walk right past him as he entered Charlotte Castle quite a bit later than Nescardinality did on this dive. But he is not running into Armored Knights as of yet. So this is kind of crazy what's happening here. Mr. Holmes now reaches the middle zones. I'm trying to figure out which floor Nescardinality's on right now, but that's a close race now between the 2 of them. And I think Nescardinality has stopped fighting enemies for experience. He's too far away from 17, and so far it's just not necessary because he has not yet had to burn any heal mores. So he's just going for it right now, and we find a red dragon finally for Mr. Holmes. I don't think we've seen any of those yet, have we?
That's the first one that I've been paying attention to.
And he's decided to fight through the red dragon because of the 66 agility, only having about a 1 in 3 chance of running. He's going to use the 1 natural heal spell, and he's going to use at least 1 herb here. So trying to hold on to those resources desperately. Both of our runners about halfway through Charlock now. Meanwhile, don't look now, Game Boy is on level 16 also. And I think he just picked up the token. Not totally sure. Maybe he's looking for the Rainbow Drop Cave now. But he is on, going to be on his way into Charlock very soon. And I feel like Smashy just bought the Silver Shield.
Yes, he did.
And now he's going in. Maybe. Just took a turn there, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to hit the inn right up on top, it looks like, potentially.
I don't know that he needs it in. He has 72 MP right now, so why don't you just go into...
It's an interesting choice.
there is a town right there just off screen. So.
Oh, that's true.
If he keeps running into enemies, he will get to 17 momentarily before entering Sherlock. So maybe that's his plan, so that he can get some MP to work with here. Just unfortunately running into some really weak enemies, but just walks kind of right past Sherlock, and he's just going elsewhere at this point. Meanwhile, Nescardinality on the bottom floor. Mr. Holmes is very close to the bottom floor. So... yep, Nescardinality has kind of taken the most direct approach. Just get level 16 in Hawksness and just go for game. And he has now taken the lead because of that.
So the blue dragon on the trap tile isn't going to give him too much fight now that he has Erdrix.
So I will say the one benefit, Mr. Holmes was fighting through some red dragons, and remember, he already had Erdrix Sword because he dove for that earlier. So that is one of the benefits of diving for that sword, is that when you get in those situations, you do have the option to fight your way through some of those battles with the sword. I just don't know that it saves enough time to do a whole extra dive for the sword in this particular situation. And as we see, Nescardinality was able to take the lead because of that decision. Now he is on Dragon Lord 1, trying to use the herbs to maintain his HP, and that's his last herb, and unfortunately he faces another Hurtmore, which makes this battle a bit closer now. Gets the stop spell there, but still going to be entering without full HP here.
So those that do choose to get level 17 will get 10 health and 16 magic, I believe. So it is a good level for safety, but probably not necessary. And our tracker, Cyberdark, made a good note about Smashy. What he might have been doing was getting up the money in order to rebuy either an axe or a broadsword, because he sold his sword for a bamboo pole in order to get that silver shield.
Yeah, and so he took a side trip away from Sherlock in order to get to the proper shop. And still not sure that he actually bought a weapon. Oh my goodness, 52 physical from the Dragon Lord, and down goes Nescardinality. That low defense power and the lack of a silver shield looming large on the Dragon Lord fight. Very unfortunate, and I believe he has the Death Necklace equipped, so he is cursed, unable to recoup his resources at Tantegel. He's going to have to seek out an inn now. What a turn of events for Nescardinality. 52 physical takes him down.
Mr. Holmes is going to line up on level 17, so he's got a little bit more HP even set up, but he doesn't have that more than 8 heal mores, so this is going to be an interesting fight for him.
Yeah, this is definitely possible for Mr. Holmes with such a large HP total, and he is going to go Death Necklace, and puts him at 108 according to our tracker, which makes it pretty tough to actually get double attacks. Actually, this is closer than I thought now. He's at 144 and 8 heal mores. This is pretty close, actually, for Mr. Holmes, especially when you have to basically approach it like Nescardinality did and fight on 49 and 50 and 51 and possibly take that 52 physical from the Dragon Lord.
He had a very smooth Dragon Lord 1 fight there, getting stop spell twice and getting the kill, and hitting for 20 on his first attack. So he did get back attacks, but it was a low physical.
Okay, not a whole lot of heal mores to work with, so this is going to be a fast battle either way. He is rolling in the 20s multiple times, though, so it doesn't take too many of those to take down the Dragon Lord. Smooth sailing so far, has not had any of those borderline decisions of fighting or healing, so it's going to heal up at 22, up to 108. And meanwhile, Nescardinality recouping his herbs at the Brockenary shop. And I thought for a second he was going to go get himself decursed there, but just taking the exit out of the east exit there, and back into Sherlock he goes. Mr. Holmes down to 2 heal mores. I think he's getting close. Oh, and Dragon Lord does do the 52 physical, but
He's been rolling very high consistently through this fight. I would be surprised if he doesn't have it here this turn.
And he does the swag attack where he must have already damaged Dragon Lord for in the 160s or so. Knows that the next attack has to win. And he's victorious. Get your GGs out. And let's check SRL real quick.
Yeah, so if we look to the rest of the racers not on stream, JJ Schmidt looks like he's going through on his second dive through Sharlock on level 16. So he trails a little bit behind Smashy and is just about on pace with where I think Nescardinality is in the game.
So amongst our 9 or 10 runners we have, MisterHomes does come in first place in the weekly race here in 124 and 13. Well done, MisterHomes. Congrats on that, as we see Smashy going into the treasury for his sword and Nescardinality working on the Dragon Lord momentarily. I think, nope, he's still making his way down. So Smashy has a chance for second place here. There's the fighter's ring, by the way, also in the treasury. I missed that earlier, so another 2 attack power for Smashy there. And on level 17, of course, has those extra stats that MisterHomes also had. He'll make his way around. He's got a lot of extra MP because he dove in at 17. MisterHomes dove in at 16, got 17 on the way. So plenty of extra MP for Smashy. Just needs to get to the Dragon Lord as quickly as he can.
And to round out the rest of our runners off the stream, Edge Figaro is at level 15, WMD is at level 13, Tilo is at 16, Lorgan is at 14, and Beta Strap is at 15.
All right, so yeah, nobody really lagging too far behind. We can probably expect everyone to finish up possibly within the next 15 to 20 minutes here, like a nice, strong, competitive race like we knew it would be tonight. And we have Game Boy also diving Sharlock, by the way, so he is a little bit behind Nescardinality, but making his way through, and Smashy's approaching the Dragon Lord.
This fight looks very safe for Smashy.
What is the deal with this Dragon Lord sprite on Smashy's screen? Oh my goodness. It's bright orange. It's based on the fact that he's playing as Bray here from Dragon Warrior 4. Changes the palettes a little bit, but he equips the Death Necklace. He's been going to be declared a fool. Let's see how his Dragon Lord 1 fight goes, but he has some extra MP here, so should be a pretty relaxing fight for Smashy either way. If he remembers that the Dragon Lord can hit him, in this case for 49 damage, he does have the Silver Shield, so he won't be getting hit for 52. But he could still get hit for...
Excuse me, Nescardinality just noped out of that die.
And he's on pretty low MP, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he was just going for level 17 kind of in the fastest way that he could think of. So maybe he was using up magic to do so. Did not notice that at the time. And meanwhile, Game Boy now has passed him. He's halfway through Sharlock and has not used any MP in the process. So tough situation. Nescardinality had a clear chance to win the race, and just got some bad luck there with the high physical.
And looking at differing strategies, Edge Figaro is actually choosing to grind on that first floor of Sharlock. So that's another differing strategy that came out of this season.
Yeah, chat noting, I guess Nescardinality must have attacked with his own HP total at exactly 52. I didn't catch exactly where he was at. So yeah, if he was at 52 and he got hit for 52, which is the max, it's you know, around a 2% chance, possibly even less based on the distributions. So, yeah, when you get a 2% chance of things going wrong and it happens, that's pretty brutal. But regardless, he seems to be back into Sherlock now. And Smashy has wrapped up his battle, casting return now. Great job by Smashy all around. Some interesting end game choices there for Smashy, going out of his way to get that silver shield. Pays off well enough to get second place, I believe, unless somebody off stream snuck in there.
Nope, it looks like he will take second place here.
So GG for Smashy. 1 hour, 29 minutes even. Completes the seed. Well done. Game Boy in the treasury looking for the sword and the fighter's ring. Fighter's ring is right there on the top. Immediately equips the fighter's ring for +2. Already found the sword. He's on his way to the Dragon Lord right now with a chance for third place overall. And we're going to see if Mr. Holmes has any golfing skills down in the lower left corner. This is actually a great game from the NES era, in my opinion. I got pretty good at this game at one point, but it's been a while. So Game Boy making his way around. This is a Final Fantasy character, correct? Looks like it's one of the Final Fantasy 1 characters. And Nescardinality is already down about 10 magic points on his dive, so things not going particularly well in Sherlock for Nescardinality. He's going to have to use, he's tried the stop spell a couple of times to try and make his way through the Armored Knight a little faster. So now he's down 12 MP. And 10 heal more is at his disposal. He's choosing not to use any more magic on this particular fight.
Yeah, it looks like he's just hit a spell of pretty bad luck.
Yeah, so he's at level 17. Looks like we probably don't have the fighter's ring marked off for him. So, you know, if he does have it, these stats are good, potentially with only 8 heal mores. So he's down another heal more. He could still continue this dive. You can still win with these stats, but it's starting to get a little close now. If he doesn't or didn't get the fighter's ring, then now it's become extremely close here with only 9 heal mores. And he just still can't get away from this Armored Knight, so pretty tough. They never did get any additional agility, so having to deal with those encounters is pretty brutal.
Nescardinality did not get the fighter's ring in his first dive. I actually thought he skipped the sword at first because I was looking away when he grabbed it, and he was already going to the Dragon Lord, and I noticed that the door was open and only the first chest was open. So he opened one chest and left.
All right, so Game Boy now enters Dragon Lord 2 battle with 10 heal mores, but he did not have full HP. So I think he's still a pretty good favorite here, but it's going to come down to the last 1 or 2 heal mores for him and making his way through there. And do we possibly have Smashy in the chat? What's going on, Smashy?
Finishing second to Mr. Holmes as usual.
Yeah, tell us about some of the end game decisions. You went out of your way to get the silver shield there.
Yeah, I just saw I had the gold, so I just wanted to get that before I accidentally took a death, which is why I sold the broadsword for $750. And it turned out that just worked out perfectly to get it on that trip to Hawksness.
Yeah, that's pretty rare to see somebody downgrade their weapon like that and continue to walk around. So that was fun to watch that strategy play out.
Well, I mean, you didn't need a weapon at that point because it was just hurt more the Axe Knight, and with our strength, all you need is a love tap to get him down after that. So even the bamboo pole works for that, and then... Yeah, I also noticed After I'd swung that, actually took a risk right at the start of DL2 at 49 health because 83 defense, he can swing for 49, can't he?
At 83 defense, 49 damage, that's right. And the rest of our runners had only the large shield, and we saw Nescardinality actually took 52 physical and actually killed him. So it's definitely a risky proposition to not have the defense power for sure. We're seeing GameboyF9 finishing right now, and Nescardinality is in the Dragon Lord fight. All four of you look to be finishing at level 17. Did you have any thoughts of going at 16? Because you seemed like you didn't even hesitate. You knew you were going to 17. You went all the way to 17 on your Axe Knight grind. Any thoughts of going at 16?
That was kind of a consequence of deciding to go for that silver shield. I just decided I'm going to finish up 17. I was briefly thinking about it, and then I looked at my agility and was like, no.
Okay, so the agility was the factor there, right? It definitely was the low stat, and not having the silver shield, you had the low defense power as well. It seemed like there was enough attack power, and but yeah, if the agility doesn't go your way, of course, that's a problem as well. So yeah, you all did end up going to 17. It was just interesting that it seemed like it would be doable at 16, but nobody ended up doing so.
I imagine it would be doable at 16. The problem's getting down there, and sometimes that's the thing. Like you'll have the stats to kill the Dragon Lord, but it's no good if you died of red dragons or something like that on the way down.
And we have our third place overall finisher, GameboyF9, is joining us as well. Good game to you, sir.
Yeah, good game. So, I was just kind of goofing off there at the end because there was this one stretch at the opening zone where I ran into 4 consecutive ghosts. I took 4 steps and I took 4 consecutive ghosts. And you know what I did? I started writing down what the odds were of accomplishing that. And it turned out to be 41 million to 1.
Yeah, assuming there's 5 different enemies in that zone, you mean, and just encountering the same one 4 times. Yeah, that could be a long shot for sure.
And pay respects to Nescard. He is dead again.
Yeah, he got a couple terrible rolls, and so
that's his
came down right
failed
back
dive,
to his
I believe.
attack. Yeah,
I think that's 3 failed dives for Nescard now. It might be 4. It's at least 3 failed dives. That's unfortunate. So it's going back in again.
That was his third dive. He took a little bit of time to get back there after he noped out of the one.
So besides the first minute of the Game Boy, what else did you think about the seed? It seemed like, I want to say it took you a little while to find Cantlin. What else happened here? I don't know.
Yeah, it took a long time to find
Cantlin.
Oh, I don't know. I felt like I did okay. I mean, I felt like I was scoring points okay. I don't know. It was just nice and relaxed. So yeah. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you guys, but that's
sometimes the seeds just seem to play kind of straightforward. There wasn't any particularly struggles in the early game. You guys got off those levels pretty easily. You started off with keys pretty much, and then it was just a matter of making your way through the map, it seemed. So I think what slowed you down was just finding Cantlin, I think, because everybody else was in grind mode by the time you were still kind of looking for Cantlin, it looked like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's amazing. It seems like everybody's been diving Sherlock, and I passed first try, but that Sherlock was... there was a town right there? Oh, gosh. I forgot that Breckenary was just... I thought it was a lot further north than Sherlock than what it was, but not my day-to-day.
I didn't notice you. Did you go a long way away to heal up before your dive? I don't know.
Yeah, I went to Cole.
And I believe... So did you do any significant grinding on the Axe Knight in Hawksness? Because I saw you doing some overworld grinding in an area with rogue scorpions and green dragons for a while.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that. mainly because I was almost dead. So I figured, well, this is a good place to get a bunch of points. But eventually, my final grind was Red Dragons, just west of Tanagel. And actually, that was one of the things that did hold me up, is that I was so close to getting the broadsword, and then I got picked off by a red dragon, and that was it for that. So I definitely lost a couple of minutes there.
Yeah, the Axe Knight grind that some people went with, it was a little tricky because they did have Dragon Lord 2 Breath and Heal More. So if you didn't get him in one shot and it casts Heal More, then you got to swing your sword, and then it can hit you with the Dragon Lord Breath. Then you got to use another Hurt More. So it wasn't as efficient as some other Axe Knight grinds, and that's why it looked like maybe you had decided to just not do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. Smashy's still here. Well done on getting second place. Yeah, that's good. Nice one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it feels good. Feels good to do that after just how terribly I played a couple of weeks ago. I wish to forget that experience altogether.
Well, hopefully this is an experience to remember. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
I mean, I did good in the weekly last week, but hopefully I'll bring one of these home one of these days.
By the way, nobody has finished in 4th place yet, so we still have Nescardinality hoping for 4th place. I assume a lot of off-stream runners are closing in on it now.
On that topic, JJ Schmidt and Edge Figaro are both on Dragon Lord 2. JJ Schmidt, I think, is a little bit ahead, but Nescardinality may have dropped 5 places based on that unlucky 52 physical roll.
Wow, that really, that 52, man. That's, I mean, Mr. Holmes always talks about not standing low agility seats, and, this time, I'm like, really?
So, Game Boy, I was asking Smashy just, I think, before you got in, did you have any thoughts at all about going at 16? It was a low agility seed, so that seemed to be a little troubling for everyone, but seemed like 16 might have been doable.
Yeah, it was borderline, but I closed out with no magic left. So, that wasn't.
Yeah, so you're glad you had the extra level then.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Yeah, and it looks like, Yep,
it's going to turn out all of you are going to finish at 17. So, that little bit extra definitely helpful. No agility gains though from 16 to 17 if I recall, but everything else
Edge
was
tried to YOLO that.
No, Edge Figaro tried at 16, and I think Betistrop's not gonna finish that.
So JJ just finished in 141.31. I believe he was on 17. Edge may be on 16, you're right. Yeah, he is on 16.
Congrats to JJ Schmid 77 for 4th place. He's become a very strong runner in recent months, and he did have that 5-0 start in the recent tournament, the only runner to go 5-0 in the Swiss rounds. Hasn't really been around too much for too many casual races lately, but good to see him participating in the weekly this time. So good game to JJ for 4th place.
And we'll see Nescardinality work his way through the trap tile again. Hopefully he finds his way without too much trouble and gets some good rolls.
Getting some pretty good luck with encounters on the last floor. That is something that scared me on my run. I just kept running into Axe Knights, and I'm like, please don't ambush breath me. Please don't block me and breath me. And they didn't, which was nice.
Yeah, I know those Axe Dice, man. I don't know which one I was worried more about: the Red Dragons, because you can't run of them; the Armored Knights, because they were just going to hold you up with sleep and hurt, or the Axe Knights with, choose your poison, or the Green Dragons with hurt more.
And a little bit of commentator's curse there on Nescardinality getting back attacked by an Axe Knight with Dragon Lord Breath.
All right, folks. I'm gonna head on out, but I'd like to thank Upchinji and Bobsky for the commentary, Scalson for the restream, Cyberdark for the tracking. Really appreciate it, everybody, and we'll see you all real soon. All right.
Awesome. Good game, GameboyF9. Thanks for stopping in and chatting with us. And glad to see that you were able to participate this week. Hopefully more to come in future weeks. So cool. Yeah, we're seeing Nescardinality on his Dragon Lord fight for at least the third time. A tough one here. It's always tough to see this happen. He's actually closing in on level 18, but first he's going to take another crack here at Dragon Lord.
He got hurt more, I think 3 or 4 times though.
Yeah, so he's not going in with full HP, and he has 10 heal mores, and remember he did not get the fighter's ring, so he's looking at 142 attack power, and probably a favorite here, but it's close. Not going in with full HP, of course. Yeah, you lose the 1 attack there, but he is still a favorite. I am assuming that it's a relatively high HP total for the Dragon Lord based on the fact that MisterHomes went with the swag attack at the end, knowing that he could get over 165 no matter what. So it's definitely not on the low end of the HP. So I have to see if Nescardinality can outlast him with these resources here.
I did see some pretty good rolls early on, but that last one, and well, there's another 19, so he's getting some good rolls this time. I think that's the 3rd hit for 19 he's landed, and there's a 20.
He's looking like he's in good shape, but it is a high HP Dragon Lord too, so it might still come out pretty close because of his having to spend that first. Choosing to heal on the 46.
Still nobody else has come in at 5th place, so some of the folks that we were mentioning were fighting the Dragon Lord earlier must have failed those attempts.
And there's the kill.
And there we go. So GG to Nescardinality. Moments away from a potential 5th place here.
And he's going to take it. There's no one on a dive right now.
All right. Maybe you could recap where everyone else is at, as where we don't have anyone left on our feature stream here.
Sure. So Tilo looks like he's at 17, 18 actually, and he will be able to dive this out here pretty quickly. WMD is grinding on the map at level 14. Lorgan has level 17. Edge Figaro has level 16, and Beta Strep maybe on his dive now at level 17.
All right, so Nescardinality, 5th place finish, 1 hour, 46 minutes, 26 seconds, approximately, 25 to 30 minutes after his first Dragon Lord encounter. So well done for sticking it out and persevering through some difficult luck there. Nescardinality, middle of the pack in this one, 5th place.
Yeah, Nescardinality's comment was Dragon Lord 2 attacks for 49 and 52 for the exact amount of HP it took to kill him.
Yikes.
Yep, so we'll wait and see if he's in the mood to come in and chat for a few minutes or not. Perfectly understandable either way. And before we wrap this up. So, kind of a fun seed. Looked like there was steady progress throughout. There's a little bit of different decisions as regards to early game grinding. Game Boy with a bit of a mid-game grind. And then the end game grind was a little bit different. MisterHomes went with the sword dive. Smashy went with the silver shield grind. And so yeah, it was fun to see how it all came together, but didn't seem to be too challenging in the mid-game as far as rounding up the items. Just a matter of covering the map as efficiently as possible in this one.
I'm actually going to try to pull up here and see if I can see those stats for 18 for Tilo. Unless this card's not coming in, which probably be better. Let's just go ahead and wrap up if you want to.
So Beta Strep is just finishing up his dive. He will be entering the Dragon Lord fight here on level 17. Just under 149.30. So he could be done in about... Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I just have to say it's refreshing to see that a lot of the top runners have their schedules all aligned this time around. So we got to see GameboyF9, MisterHomes, Nescardinality, and Smashy all on stream at the same time. Oftentimes one or the other or several of the runners have had to miss the weekly races so far for one reason or another. So it was fun. It's fun to see it this time around, all lined up. Hopefully our viewers appreciated the head-to-head matchups that ensued in this one. Very highly skilled runs overall. They made it look easy, so it's hard to appreciate sometimes just how well they're playing this game now. But great race overall, and just gonna poke in and see one more time if he feels like coming in. I don't know if anyone has reached out or anything like that.
Okay, so if you were wondering where all the agility was, there was 17 of it on level 18.
Ooh, yeah, that'll make the dive down a lot easier. And
there was also 12 health, so that really helps out to tank those hits. So I think Tilo should make it real easy on his dive.
Yeah, all of a sudden when you get agility in the low to mid 80s, you can reliably run from Armored Knights and Red Dragons nearly half the time at that point. So much less stressful situation. And then the additional hit points, of course, makes your survivability just that much stronger. So I wonder what happened to him that he had to go that much. 18 seems like overkill, but it's possible that he failed a couple of dives as well. It seemed
MisterHomes, thank you so
like
much
several
for hosting.
runners had some issues, which often happens with these low agility seeds. So totally understandable.
Okay, Beta Strep's actually fighting the Dragon Lord now without the Death Necklace. Not sure if he just didn't find it or if he just decided not to equip it, but he's down to 4 heal mores and just took off 10 more from the Dragon Lord, so best of luck to him.
He will get a lot of doubles based on the hit points that he has if he gets a full heal off. And he did end up taking out the Dragon Lord right now. So he'll finish in, 15-20 seconds and take our 6th place finish.
Very good. And there's 3 or 4 more runners still to go. And I don't think we're going to have any more interviews tonight. So any final thoughts, Bobski? Not sure what else is going on tonight.
I thought they played really well. I think it was really interesting to see the top runners and everyone kind of taking a slightly different strategy, choosing to grind mid-game a little bit longer, choosing to go for Silver Shield or dive for Sword. It was really interesting to see how that played. And of course, a good game from all of them.
I agree. Very nicely played, and it was fun to watch. And so that's going to pretty much do it here for our Wednesday Warrior Weekly. We'll have another one next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Thanks to our runners, particularly the ones that volunteered to be restreamed tonight: Smashy, GameboyF9, MisterHomes, and Nescardinality. Special thanks to our tracker CyberDark86 and our restreamer tonight, Skoosin. Thanks for co-commentating with me, Bobski. That was a lot of fun. And so that's going to do it. We may or may not be taking you somewhere at the end of this stream. Stay tuned in the chat if that is happening. Otherwise, catch us next time for all of your randomizer action here on Randomania. Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.